Malcolm Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family.
I am tired of running for shade. And aren't you tired of being hustled and played? And aren't we all tired of crying about how hard it is to be black in America, even if it looks like we've got it made?
Malcolm Jamal Warner, who became a household name as the endearing, slyly quirky son Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has passed away. But his final words weren't merely a farewell. He offered us something deeper, a call to wake up and listen. His message still reverberates. If you can't find a reason to smile, be the reason someone else does. Now, as we grapple with his absence, heavier questions surface. Why do voices who dare to speak often get hushed? Why does challenging the entrenched system provoke backlash? We stand here, grief etched onto our faces, wounds deeper than what words can hold. Our sense of pride has sometimes been distorted into something darker, something that looks like self-loathing. Was Malcolm's death merely another sorrowful moment in an ongoing tragedy? Or is something more significant happening, something impossible to ignore? At only 54 years old, Malcolm Jamal Warner's passing stunned fans and friends alike. According to official reports, he drowned while on vacation in Costa Rica, together with his family. Authorities say he was swept away by powerful currents while swimming at Clay's beach in Lemon Province. By the time emergency teams got there, it was too late. He was found without vital signs. That is the official account, but something feels off. The timing, the circumstances, the fact that he had just shared such a stirring message, all feels chillingly uncanny. Warner wasn't merely on holiday. He wasn't simply unwinding. He was, in many ways, on a mission, one of vulnerability, awakening, of exposing truths that many shy away from. Just 2 days before his passing, he released the final episode of his podcast, Not All Hood. This episode wasn't light, far from it. It was raw, passionate, urgent. He revisited a conversation with spoken word artist Amika George Harper, who took issue with the podcast title. When he told her it was called Not All Hood, she shot back, in a single line loaded with conviction, "Ain't nothing wrong with the hood." That phrase stopped him in his tracks. It stirred him into deeper reflection on how media often distorts black life, amplifying a narrow, simplified narrative of the hood while ignoring its richness, its depth, its beauty. Malcolm wasn't distancing himself from the hood. Instead, he was calling out the system that gains from misunderstanding and profiting off those one-dimensional portrayals. He spoke of what he called the hood side, historically vital to the making of American culture. This wasn't just a cultural point, it was a statement on appropriation, erasure, stolen legacies. Hollywood has spent decades trying to bury these truths, but Malcolm didn't fold. He also got personal. He opened up about his evolving views on concepts like black excellence. There was a time he saw it as a byproduct of fame or fortune. But learning about black soldiers whose names had been wiped from Arlington National Cemetery changed his perspective. He realized that merely surviving, getting through each day, is an act of excellence, not ballots or awards or recognition. Just living, enduring, staying, and knowing that only 48 hours after sharing that reflection with the world, he was gone. It makes that whole conversation feel unbearably heavy. We've known him for so long as Theo Huxtable, the charming, relatable son who struggled with dyslexia, sure, but always had the unwavering love and guidance of his parents. We grew up watching him, week after week, in our living rooms. That image stayed pinned to his identity for a long time. But who was the real Malcolm Jamal Warner, behind the character? Who was the man who quietly faced personal tragedies, who bore the weight of a beloved show dragging in scandal, and yet didn't let that weight crush him, but rather used it to grow stronger and to become a thoughtful, caring artist? It's clear now that he wasn't just a kid actor. He used his struggles, the pain, the controversies, as a path forward. The biggest struggle of all was the Bill Cosby scandal. Malcolm didn't start it, but he was pulled into it, simply by his deep tie to Cosby. This was no casual co-star. Cosby was a mentor, a father figure. He discovered Malcolm in a nationwide search for Theo. On set, Cosby imparted more than acting lessons. He taught Warner how to remain humble, how to avoid slipping into the traps that consumed so many young stars. He advised against trendy slang so that the show would last. So, when accusations against Cosby emerged, the blow was not just professional, it was deeply personal. Malcolm responded to the allegations with a painful honesty. Pain wasn't just for the victims, he said, it was also there for him, watching a man he loved face such devastating revelations. It's just as painful to hear any woman talk about sexual assault, he said, as it is to watch my friend and mentor go through this. He wasn't making excuses for Cosby, but he also didn't want to toss him aside. I can't defend him, but I won't throw him under the bus, either, he offered. He understood that the victims deserved respect and justice, but he also sought a more thoughtful, nuanced approach to responding to the fall of someone he trusted. What hurt Malcolm most, though, was watching The Cosby Show, a milestone in American TV, vanish from syndication. That show was more than just a paycheck. It was a cultural landmark, a vision of a black family built on love, dignity, intelligence. He once said, "We've always had The Cosby Show to hold up against that. And the fact that we no longer have that, that's what saddens me the most." It wasn't only about lost income though. Yes, he admitted it was literally taking money out of my pocket. It was about erasing a legacy, removing an image he knew to be powerful, hopeful, transformative, and yet, even amid that sorrow, healing began. A conversation with Keshia Knight Pulliam, his TV sister, Rudy, breathed new life into him. She reminded him that The Cosby Show had sparked dreams in countless young people, encouraging them to aim higher, to reach for college, to believe in themselves. That impact couldn't be erased. That reminder shifted everything. Instead of mourning what was gone, he began to focus on what had already been given to the world. That's who he was. Someone who, even in the face of heartbreak, chose to see goodness and possibility. Malcolm's journey wasn't the career arc we expect. He didn't let the spotlight collapse him. He sidestepped the pitfalls that so many child stars fell into: legal troubles, addictions, broken lives. He had a strong foundation. His mother, Pamela, anchored him with wisdom, teaching him discipline and a sense of purpose. He consciously refused to be defined by Theo. He struggled with that identity, sure, but he chose a different path. His post-Cosby Show life was far from predictable. He moved into directing, into music. He even won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance. Proof he wasn't defined by his early fame, but by his evolving artistry. He pursued dramatic roles that challenged him, that showed he was not just a child actor, but a serious artist. Even more remarkable than his achievements was his clean record, no scandal attached. He didn't just survive fame, he studied others' failures, built systems in his life to avoid those same mistakes. And this started long before he landed Theo. In 1988, he wrote Theo and Me, offering childhood advice, cautioning young fans to steer clear of drugs and make sound choices. He wasn't capitalizing on fame, he wanted to help others. As he matured, his work gained depth. His spoken word album Hiding in Plain View, Grammy-nominated, and his short film You Can't Hear Me tackled heavy topics: mass incarceration, systemic racism, deportation. These weren't abstract issues, they were personal ones. His art became activism grounded in his own identity and experiences, but life didn't spare him from tragedy. One of the most painful losses was his Cosby Show co-star and former romantic partner, Michelle Thomas, who died from cancer at just 30 years old. Though their romantic relationship had ended, their bond remained strong. He stood by her until the end. Her death quietly changed his views on love and loss. Later, his high-profile breakup with Regina King played out under the media's microscope, feeding tabloid fodder. He handled it with grace, protecting his privacy and preserving his peace. These experiences taught him that love is fragile and not something to display for others to critique. His life was never about chasing headlines or publicity. It was about truth, growth, tenacity. Looking back now, though, an uncomfortable pattern emerges. It seems that whenever a black artist starts speaking truth, challenging the system, refusing to be boxed in, or when they dare to reclaim their own narrative, something tragic happens. Malcolm wasn't simply reflecting on history. He was helping to reimagine the future, probing what black identity could mean, expanding the conversation. And just as that conversation was gaining traction, he was gone, and that absence leaves a palpable void. His death deprives us of the voice that was becoming even more purposeful. He was redefining success not by what's earned or applauded, but by the fact that you persist, that you endure. And now, he's gone, but his words remain. It's on us to honor them, to keep listening, to make sure they remain alive. When we stop paying attention is the moment his message and our collective healing fades. Malcolm Jamal Warner deserved more than a fleeting headline. He deserved to be remembered for what he stood for, a challenge to what we believed about fame, a deeper conversation about black identity, and a redefinition of survival as excellence. Let's not let his message slip away. Let's carry it forward, keep it alive, and let it shape the way we see each other and ourselves. Malcolm Jamal Warner's life reminds us that being remembered isn't just about fame or money, it's about impact. He showed us that survival itself can be an act of excellence, that speaking truth matters even when the world tries to silence it. His passing leaves questions, but it also leaves a challenge for all of us to keep the conversation alive, to push back against stereotypes, and to value the beauty and strength in our communities. So as we close this chapter, let's honor him the best way we can by carrying his message forward. If you learned something today or felt inspired, don't let it stop here. Share this video, leave your thoughts below, and let's keep this dialogue going. And remember, if you can't find a reason to smile, be the reason someone else did is. Thanks for watching. Stay strong, stay true, and I'll see you in the next one.